Hi guys, now this is just a bankside chit chat and show of a setup that I'm using here today. I'm on Lower Fuzzy at Simpsons again, trying to get some tension bream and some of the better roach that are in this lake. So far so good, no tench but plenty of roach, a couple of skimmers, and it's been fishing alright, but they have gone a bit fussy. It might be something that I've done. I can't show it on the camera, but they are fizzing like billio out there, and because of that I'm getting so many indications and liners on my shot without them taking the bait, and it's causing a few issues, but I've just got to let it settle down and not feed in for a bit and see how it goes. To reading you through the setup today, I've got a Drennan 13-foot Match Pro float rod, which is the ultra light, so it's very light. It's for this kind of fishing. That's paired with a Cadence CS7 3000 series reel with 3.5 pound Drennan float fish line. Down on the main indications we have the Drennan antenna float, you can see with the multicoloured tip, and that is held in place with a couple of float shots or stops rubber on the float, so there's no weight on the float. Then right down the line to about a third away from the hook, I've got a bulk of 3 number 4s, and then about 4 inches from my hook a number 8 shot as my base shot, and that hook length is a number size 16s on 3 pound line, Drennan silverfish white gape. So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be shy on the corn for this last half hour or so, probably like I say due to how I'm feeding it, I'm going to put on one of the Fuka Neons just to see how it goes. Let's see if it helps. It's a very breezy day. I was going to bring the pole, but because it's so windy I thought it'll just make it uncomfortable. So I thought I'll bring the waggler rod, I'll have a bit more control over that. I'm just literally casting out to the edge of the ground. Oh, look at that, one tried to take it on the drop then. Get back out there again. Casting out to beyond my ground bait, and then you reel into it. You've got to put your line under the water. Always remember that when it's windy like today. Put your rod tip under the surface of the water, cast beyond your peg or your point, reel it down until you get to where you want to fish, and your line should sink, and that will stop you from having that surface drift of your line when it's windy. One thing you don't want. Oh, like straight away, as soon as it got down there, you get an indication. But I'm sure it's just them hitting the shot. It's not a bite. When I'm getting bites on this float, because it is so sensitive, and I've got it set up so like pinpoint showing, a bite should just make it fly away. But instead, you're getting this all the time, little ups and downs. And it's where they're hitting the line as they're grubbing on the ground bait down there. It's literally like someone's turned a jacuzzi on. You know. We're just going to give it a perseverance for a minute, just see if we can get a bite while I'm on the camera. I've had some lovely roach out in fairness. No monsters, but up to sort of like 12 ounces, 13 ounces, which is a beautiful roach. A couple of bream of about the 2 pound mark so far. Plenty of smaller skimmers. Ooh, you're going to go? It's all the fizzing around you. Yes, there we go. What we got on here? That doesn't feel like a skimmer, that feels more like a tension. The rod is just bent over. It's not a monster of a fish, but it's a fighter. It does feel like a tension out of the way it's going. It's just staying in this margin. It's just going up and down. Oh no, it's not. It's a cruie. Oops, reeled in a bit too much there. It's swinging in. That's the first cruie of the day. Bring it in here and let you have a gander. It's a fat one anyway, I'll tell you that. Oops. Hook's pinked out into his fin now. Couldn't do that again if you tried, could you? There you go. And there you go, look at that. A beautiful crusion that. Getting on for, I'm going to say 8 ounces. Maybe a bit more, but what a thin, perfect crusion that is. See that on camera as well, first crusion of the day. I'm not going to argue with that. Good fun, good fishing. and that was on the Fuka pellets. Almost an instant bite that, compared to what it was with the corn. So I'll put another little Fuka on. It's just a yellow neon, like that. And yeah, it's not perfect on a size 16s because these are a large 6mm pellet, but it works. Just cast that back out there again, rod tip under, sink the line, there we go. So I just want to keep feeding in, but you can't, not when they're getting so many liners like this. And the thing is, they're not feeding mid-water. It's not liners where they're darting in and out through your line and feeding mid-water. It's liners on the bottom because they're moving that bottom shot, and that's what's making your float do this all the time. And it's the tails and the fins as they're grubbing about, and it's the ground bait I'm putting in. Now in the ground bait is some Bait Tech Bream ground bait. Oh, yeah, I'm just lifting up a bit there. I missed it. Bait Tech Bream ground bait mixed with some liquidized bread that I made last night, and in it I've just put some corn and some pellets to give you an idea. Just a nice stodgy ground bait, because where I'm fishing it's fairly deep, so I want it to hold together to get down, to bring the fish down onto the bottom. I don't like fishing mid-water when it's in this peg, and especially when it's this windy, because I find it very hard to control fishing up in the water in this kind of weather. But yeah, it's just it's about 7 foot in this peg, 7 foot deep. So binding that together, I have flavoured it with a little bit of Scopex to give it that extra scent, and I've also flavoured some of my corn with that as well. Cast that again, give you the second, or the third cast, and see if we get one before I bid you farewell. But yeah, I just thought I'd run you through the setup. This is a simple waggler setup. Like I say, your granny can set this up in no time after being shown once. So it's any float really, but I'm using a fairly sensitive. It is a 2 number 1 float, I didn't mention that's 2 number 1s it takes. And like I say, held in place by 2 little rubber float stops. A rubber on the float itself rather than through the eye, so I can change it if I need to, if the conditions worsen or it gets too breezy, or I think I need to put a heavier float on, or vice versa if it goes lighter. And then, like I say, 3/4 of the way down the line is a bulk of shot. Whoops, that was a touch. And then, of course, my bottom shot. Yes, there we go. Ooh, ooh, this has gone solid again. This feels like a bream. Yeah, it is. Not a big bream, but it's a bream. I say a bream, skimmer. We'll call it a skimmer. But the Fuka pellets are giving me the more bites today. They are out fishing the corn. Doesn't happen often, but it shows it always pays to have a range of baits. There you go. Lovely skimmer. Probably even maybe a little bit of hybrid in him, that. But there you go. You'd soon build up a nice net if you were doing this as a match, catching fish of that size all day. It is a silverfish lake. There is no carp in here apart from the cruises. But yes, I just thought, for the sake of it, I'll give you a quick show of how it's going here and how well it's fishing. And I'm not on the pole. Well, must be changing up. I was on the feeder last week and I'm on the waggler this week. Keep the variety going, eh? Variety is the spice of life, as they say. I'm just going to let that settle. Get it down a bit. I am going to throw in a little bit of pellet this time, just to keep them around. And that one I hit on the lift bite as well, rather than on the sink bite, because the float is so sensitive. Once they move that bottom shot up, it lifts right up, and it comes up by a good 2 to 3 inch. Pardon me. But this is what happens every now and then, because you are fishing it in a tight area. Every time you have a couple of fish, it'll just go that little bit quiet for a minute. Obviously they move out before they come back in again and start grubbing. But they're just starting to bubble again down there now. It had been disturbed. But that's the thing, when you're fishing on this lake, you don't know what you're going to get. It could be a bream. They're in here up to 7, 8, even £9, you know. It could be be a tench there in here up to £6 plus. It could be a roach, anything up to two, 2.5. If you're fishing with maggot or worm or prawn, there's perch in here to £4 plus. You never know, you know. And then also you've got the hybrids and the cruies. There is chub in here. That's always a bonus if you manage to hit one of them. Ooh, ooh, just getting a tap there on the float. Just gonna give it a second, see what happens. He's thinking about it. Again, it's doing those little. You got the bubbles coming up all around it all the time. Oh, I wish there were tench. If it was tench, it'd be a great day. But you never know. And the other fish that's in here that doesn't come out very regular, but I mean, I'm not really going to pick them up today fishing with corn and pellet, is the eels. There's eels in here as well. Might have something to do with the stream that's below as they come up the rivers and the streams, as you know, into these kind of waters. But yeah, there is some eels in here. I've never, believe it or not, I've never had one myself, and I've fished this for getting on for 12 years, this lake. But I have seen them come out. I've seen other people catch them. But again, I'm not someone who fishes a lot with maggot or corn, or maggot or prawn or anything like that on here, or worm, because you do get a lot of roach and rudd if you do. But if you can persevere through them, or you set up a little bit different, there's always the chance. So what I'm going to do, I'm so tempted to strike at that. I'm going to leave it a minute. I should have struck at that. That did go. I let it go. That was my own fault, really. So sensitive and don't take it down. You know, when it is a bite, not on about the line bites, when you get a bite and they don't take the tip down because it is so sensitive. Fizzing right below me float. Oh, missed it. Never mind. That's fishing, I suppose. Well, what I'll do, I'll leave you here. And I'm going to get into this to see can I get a few more of these boils going. And I'll see you on the bank sometime, I hope. Fair dues and tight lines.